Hey, it's Dane. In this video I'm going to be telling you how you can stop binge eating for life. So if you're the type of person that's been on a diet for a few days or even maybe a few weeks and then got these really bad cravings to eat nice lovely junk food and you go on massive binges, this video is for you. So factor number one is fix your food environment. Reduce your exposure to all the food cues. Step number one is get rid of calorie dense foods that are easy to grab and go, especially the ones that are visible on the counter tables and even convenient options like nuts, some easy fruits that you can grab and go. Just make sure they are not visible. Step number two is reduce exposure to foods in general, and this includes food advertising that you may see in TV advertising, or in my case on a freaking treadmill in the gym, man. That's ridiculous. Step number three is create effort barriers. For example, if you have to peel something, reheat, or even cook something, you're far less likely to consume that food because you're going to have to take a lot of time out in order to cook it. So the ultimate goal is to have no visible food, especially junk food, lying around, and also make sure you have a lot of barriers in place, therefore you don't just grab something and go. This means have foods that require preparation and reheating, therefore you don't just eat for the sake of eating. Factor number two is manage your appetite. So you must choose foods that send strong satiety signals to the brain stem. These foods will be low calorie density, high protein, high fiber, and a moderate palatability. For example, foods that are closest to their natural state like fresh fruit, vegetables, fresh meat, beans, you know what I'm talking about. It may also be beneficial to get your starch from water-rich carbohydrates like sweet potatoes, white potatoes, beans, and oatmeal. This will fill you up a lot more than, let's say, white rice or even bread. So step number two is eat more protein. It will make you feel a lot fuller, and also limit highly rewarding foods like pizza and cookies. Factor number three is be aware of food reward. Your brain values calorie dense combinations that include salt, sugar, fat, starch, protein, and a lot of other elements. This sets your motivation to eat these foods accordingly. It's incredibly easy to pass the satiety signals if you eat the food you love. For example, if I'm eating broccoli compared to if I'm eating pizza, I'm sure you know which one I can eat a lot more of. So eating the food you love will drive cravings, lead to unhealthy habits, and of course overconsumption, overeating. However, that said, the simple foods don't give us that drive, that motivation to overconsume them, obviously because they're not as nice. Step number four is find your rewarding food that you really enjoy and keep it clear out of your environment, exposure, anything. Step five, if you enjoy a dessert after your big meal, have a piece of fruit. It will send a sensory specific signal to the brain and it'll make you have less craving for sugar. Number six is be aware of habit forming drugs. This is not cocaine, it's not meth, it's not weed, it's none of this. I'm talking about alcohol, caffeine, and theobromine, which is found in chocolate. As you may have guessed, that these are extremely rewarding and they do motivate us to overeat, even when we actually full. That's why when you're full, you can still eat that ice cream, you know what I'm saying. But more importantly, when I say drinking coffee, I'm talking about coffee with sugar, cream, all those kind of things. Drinking black coffee on its own is fine. Just basically avoid drinking your calories at all costs. Even though this is not really related to binge eating, you're still going to overconsume and therefore leads to fat gain. The solution, stick to simple drinks. For example, if you're going to have alcohol, just, that cheeky little drink, have a bit of wine, have spirits, it's less calorie dense. And if you're going to have coffee, just keep that black coffee. Factor number four, make sleep a priority. And I guessed it, you probably didn't know this is coming up, so listen up here. It's very, very important for the non-conscious brain, and it does impact eating behavior a lot. So to get this in check, in the morning when you wake up, make sure you get some blue spectrum light. Walk outside, don't just stay in a house like a hobbit. And then at night, you want to do the complete opposite. You want to avoid the blue spectrum light. So just on your phones, download some apps like F.lux and just avoid lights at all costs, man. I'm not saying you have to go back in the caveman days or stuff like that where you need to light a candle, so don't worry about that too much. Your circadian rhythm affects your sleep quality and eating behavior. So in order to get this right, wake up at the same time and go to sleep at the same time if you can. Factor number five is move. Just move. Regular activity will help manage your appetite and your weight. And the reason being is because you're doing activity and you're probably distracted and you're not thinking about the food you enjoy and you love to binge on. So step number 2 is do activities you enjoy and those that you can sustain. Even walking is very underrated. If you do that, if you enjoy it, do it more often. Factor number 6 is just manage your stress, man. Just chill out. So step number 1 is identify if you're a stress eater. Step number 2 is identify the stresses, for example, work-related problems, health problems, interpersonal problems, relationship problems, any kind of problems. And number 3 is mitigate the stresses. So can you fix it? Can you avoid it? Can you turn an uncontrollable stressor into a controllable stressor? And a little bonus step there, step number 4 is do mindfulness meditation. This will relax you and it will distract you from thinking of this lovely old food. Step number 5 is a very important one. Replace stress eating for more constructive and better behavior. For example, reading a book, going out to see your friends, just something that will distract you from thinking of food all the damn time. And number 6, remove calorie dense comfort foods from your surroundings that I keep pushing on because it's so important, man. If a chocolate bar is lying there and you're stressed, your willpower at the end of the day will be depleted and you will eat that. Trust me, it doesn't matter how strong your willpower is, just the way it works. And the last thing, the most important thing is identify your priorities. What I mean by this is, say for example you have bad sleep, that might be your top priority. Say for example you have really bad stress, those stresses you need to manage. So it's all individual preference, and if you do all of these steps in this video, I guarantee you will get rid of binge eating for good, for life, emotional eating, all of that stuff gone. Just make sure you follow all of these steps. This is backed by science and neuroscience. Although I didn't get too much into that, I know you guys just want the simple steps, so there it is. If you enjoyed this video, please like that video, please subscribe, and one more bonus thing just before you go is this. I've looked at some of the YouTube videos on this topic and some people are saying breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and let me tell you, it certainly isn't for all people. Here's why. I don't like breakfast, it makes me tired, and I'm not really that hungry when I wake up. So why on earth would I actually consume more calories when I'm not hungry? It doesn't make sense at all. And boosting my metabolism, that's a lot of rubbish anyway. So anyway, you know what it is. Stay positive, stay smiling. Don't worry about breakfast. If you like it, eat it. If you don't worry. Get rid of binge eating. I'm out.